Good day. Let's pick up from where we left off from the previous lesson. Now we're in loops. So actually let's just remove all this code. So it doesn't get outputted here. Okay, now it's clean. Start with for loops. So for loops are commonly used for iterating through an array. So for example, if you have this array, you can use for loop to loop through each of these items. So we say for, then open and close, then define an iterator. So this is the initializer. So the variable x starts with 0, then put in semicolon, and the next is the condition. Until when will this loop execute? So we want it to execute until all the items has been iterated. So we first have to get the length of this array length, then you can use the count method, then pass in the array. So this will return 3 since we have 3 items. So now we can check for this condition. So you say if x is less than array.length, continue looping, and then for each iteration we want to add 1 to the value of x. So it starts with 0, and then in the second iteration it becomes 1, which outputs this, and then on the last it becomes 2, which gets this. So before we actually proceed with executing this for loop, I'll show you how array indexing works. So this array here is an example of an indexed array. So you can access individual values by using the bracket notation. So you open and close brackets, and then inside it is the index. Remember that in most programming languages, arrays are 0 index. So when referring to the first item in the array, refer it as the 0, and then the second item is 1, and then the third is 2. So you always start counting from 0. So to access this, you place in here 0. So let's see. Okay, so it's outputting 1. Let's try 1. Okay, so it gets this. Now we proceed with the for loop. So here we want to output the current item in the array. So we say array, and then since we already know that this value increases for every iteration, we use this. Then we use the dot for concatenating the BR tag. Okay, so it executes. If you add another item in here, it also outputs them as well. Okay, next is the for each loop. You can also use for each loop for iterating arrays. So you say for each, and then inside it is the array which you want to iterate to, and then say as, and then the key, then use the arrow notation. So then the value. So in each array we always have a key and a value. So this one here is the value, and the key is the index. So 1 has the key of 0, 2 has the key of 1, and so on. So let's try to output it. Key, okay, so we've got the output as expected. Next is the do loop. So you say do, and then open and close, and this inside here will be the condition. So you say x, or you can also define y, since we already use x in the for loop. And then check if y is less than the array length. So it will keep on executing this code we have in here until this y variable here becomes equal to this array length, which is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay, so we have also to increase the value of this variable so that it won't execute forever. Let's try. Okay, we have a syntax error on line 54. Okay, so I forgot that there is no do loop in PHP. So PHP only has do while loop. So that will be the syntax. So it says do this code what this condition is true. So let's try. Okay, so now it's executing. Okay, so that's it for this lesson.